October 7th, the radio starts to come in from police officials, army officials that I'm connected.
Yossi Landau.
Yossi Landau.
With Yossi Landau, who is a 30-year veteran of this ZAKA search and rescue group.
Believe me, what you saw, we didn't see that in the Holocaust. For me personally, it was very hard, and it's still hard. I couldn't look at my grandchildren till now. I couldn't look at the child in his face, any child, because we saw what those children suffered.
I'm just out of curiosity, like physically, like did you eat at all that week? Like how are you? Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Meaningful People podcast. So happy to have you here. This week we had the honor to sit down with Yossi Landau, the Southern Commander for ZAKA, someone who's been part of ZAKA for 33 years. He's been the one responding to many, many different situations, attacks for a few decades now. I want to come out right away and say that there is a strong, heavy trigger warning on this episode. This content might not be for you. Sensitive topics are discussed. Details are discussed of what Yossi experienced and saw on October 7th and the days after that. So, please be honest with yourself. This might not be content that you can handle right now, and that is fine. If you're under the age of 18, I would definitely ask a parent or somebody if this is something that you should be listening to. And if it is, if you make that decision, then I think it's an extremely important thing because we all need to bear witness to what happened and spread it far and wide so the world knows the atrocities that were committed against the Jewish people on that day. Yossi was very vulnerable. He really opened up to us about what he experienced, what he saw, but it was also extremely inspirational, the things he said, the sentiments that he left with us. So please, listen to this episode, share it with people who you think would be able to benefit from hearing something like this. And of course, support the work that ZAKA does. He mentioned that $1.2 million is being spent right now on therapy for the volunteers of ZAKA. And you listen to this episode, you'll understand why. I want to give a big thank you to our friends at Alpert and Associates for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Many of you have called Moshe Alpert. Many of you have emailed him. It's time to really be serious about the investment in your future, whether that's with life insurance, whether that's with financial planning. You want financial freedom. You want that in your life. You need to take the next step. Yes, of course, call Moshe, have that free consultation, but be serious about investing in your future. And that will start by calling Moshe Alpert at 718-644-1594 or email him today at albertmoshe@gmail.com. Your future begins now. You are listening to the Meaningful People podcast.
The podcast featuring our nation's most impactful, influential,
and meaningful people. Yossi Landau, thank you so much for joining us here on the Meaningful People podcast. Before we get into obviously a lot that you've been busy with day and night over the last month or so, maybe more.
Almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months. Yeah. I want to start out by asking you, how are you doing? Like, how are you feeling? How are you doing mentally right now?
I think that everyone in Klal Yisrael is feeling what we went through, and it's still not over, especially now when the hostages, will we receive back the hostages, the children. It's a terrible feeling, and we all hope that this is going to end very soon.
Wow. Yossi, I want to take a minute just to thank you for taking some of your precious time to connect with us and to share a little bit about what you have been going through the last 2 months and your vantage point as a window for Klal Yisrael to understand and to try to connect with the matzah, with the state of what is going on for Knesset Yisrael, you're in a very, very unique position to help people appreciate that. But I want you to know, we want you to know that we acknowledge the achrayus and the burden that places on your shoulders. It's really unfathomable to us what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, and it's such a moiridige mesiras nefesh and sacrifice and avoida that you're doing, that the hamoinam, like us, like we really we can see images and we can see videos, but it's truly impossible for us to fathom what the last 2 months have been for you. And we want to just take a minute to express hakaras hatov to you, to your entire team, what you are doing on the front lines of this Sarah, this Ace Sarah. It's mamish nish tzegloim. And we want you to know that we understand that we cannot understand, and we want to express a collective hakaras hatov, and hopefully spend a few minutes identifying what is this avodah. How do we connect to it? You know, we were schmoozing a little bit before that. We had an opportunity to spend some time together on Sunday night at an evening of Achdus for ZAKA. And the fact that you came to America to help the American people in New York specifically connect somewhat to this inyan, it's such an important aspect of what you're doing to help us connect to it. And we hope to spend a few minutes today broadening the lens and hoping that more people can connect to the work that you're doing.
Yes, I appreciate that, and I'm really thankful. And I feel the achdus that there is in Klal Yisrael. We feel the support, especially when I look in the eyes of our team at ZAKA. And when I know, and I was there with them together, what they saw, and I don't know how they doing that, but when I asked them, how could you do that? How could you go on? So the answer is because of the support of Klal Yisrael. That gives them the push, the courage, and we feel it. Because I'll tell you, it's impossible for us, for anybody. When I see it, when I go back, you know, when we started in Simchas Torah, October 7th, as they call it, when we started to work and collect the bodies, we worked like a machine. We didn't think even twice because it's a mission. But when we go back home and we think exactly, or when we come back to the scene to clean the blood, to do whatever we have to do, and it flashes back what you saw then, this is the hardest thing that you do. And I just give you a small example. I went to meet a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor. He lives in Ramat Gan in Israel, and I'm doing business with his son, so I said, I want to meet your father. Because he told me in the past what his father did in the Holocaust. I want to meet him, and I want to see the difference between the Holocaust and what we saw and this attack. I went to his house, I showed him some pictures, images, and I told him what our eyes saw. He starts crying like a baby. And he said, believe me, what you saw doesn't come close even to the Holocaust. It's worse. It's much worse than the Holocaust. We didn't see that in the Holocaust. So I I have no words for these angels that did the job. And I'm a little bit what I was there. And I'm a commander. I was there with my team. But when I look at them, and you could, if you see, if anybody sees a ZAKA member that was there, ask a bracha, because they're capable for brachas, because they saw that, and I would say in 3 days to collect 800 bodies, and the most evil, the most, I would say, the most unexpected things to see, and they saw it, and they gave the full respect, and they did it with a year's akovet, I said, because we knew the Kedoshim, they're holy, and they were killed for Kiddush Hashem. And if you look at their eyes and see their eyes, what they're doing, it's unbelievable.
Yes, I want to ask you if you can bring us back to, I guess, the beginning of everything. On October 7th, it started out as a regular Simchas Torah day for you. If you could just take us from there and let us know how the events unfolded through your eyes.
Yes, as every Jewish home, every normal home, you have guests. You're going to enjoy Simchas Torah, Shabbos, Simchas Torah. You want to enjoy it. You have guests. You have your children. Everybody is different. Everybody is something else. But Simchas Torah is known as a yontiv, as a holiday for the children, to dance, to be with the children. And we know every father, every grandfather, he's so proud of his children and grandchildren. He just picked them up on the axle, and he dances with him in shul. And everybody's prepared the Kiddush. And then 6:30 in the morning, I live in Ashdod. That's in the south region of Israel. And I'm the commander of the south region. And 6:30 in the morning, the siren went off, started, and my kids, everybody, they know what to do. We have a shelter. They go into the shelter. I don't know what that is. I don't know where the shelter is in my house, because whenever there is, I'm on call. So the first thing, I take my radio, I take everything, I go down. In the back of my house is the iron dump, is right in the back of my house, and we see the iron dump just hitting missiles, and it's such an attack we don't remember a long time. We're talking about 15, 20 missiles, and it seemed very dangerous. I go down, wait for the call to see where the missile hit, and Baruch Hashem, didn't get any calls as a missile hit a building or people. We didn't get that. But then the radio starts to come in from officials, if it's the police officials, army officials, that I'm connected, that this is a cover-up for a big invasion that happened in the south of Israel. Chaos, and the only thing is that I get, Yossi, be prepared. We might need you any minute, so just be prepared. Okay. I gave them the okay. I'm prepared. I'm ready. When you need me, call me. I went to shul. everybody, children, my wife. 10 o'clock in the morning, I received a phone call. Yossi, get into your car, put in how much body bags you can put in your car, take your equipment, and come to Sderot. That's the first stop. That's the main city. After Ashdod in the south, we have Ashkelon and then Sderot, and we knew that there was an invasion in Sderot and a very missile attack in Sderot. I called up two of volunteers. I told them, be ready. I'll come pick you up. I met my son while running out from shul. I met my son. I told him, tell for mommy to keep up the yontif, the meals. I don't know when I'm going to come back. I'm just leaving. I went into the car and drove down to the south, to Sderot. When I arrived to, it's called Yad Mordechai, there is a checkpoint blocked and soldiers, all soldiers on the side, and they told me, you can't pass. I told them who I am. Okay, just watch because there's a lot of terrorists around. There's shooting around, and watch how you drive. That's what he told me. I didn't understand what he told me when watch how you drive. But then I went in, I saw exactly what he meant. I had to maneuver between bodies that were lying on the road and soldiers and terrorists all over shooting. Top of my head, top of my car. I don't know, the nest. It's just a miracle, a nest that I wasn't shot. And we went on to Sderot.
You were there. You went in there in an active situation. There were still terrorists actively there, battling with soldiers.
Yes.
Is that like a normal occurrence? Has that ever happened to you before?
No. It happened once in Mumbai, 15 years ago this week in Mumbai when it was the attack, when there was 207 people killed in that terror attack and the Chabad house was 7. We arrived over there as a ZAKA team, and while there was still gunfire, we went in to take out the bodies. That was the only time when we went under fire. That was the first time, and I would say now is the second time. I'm not talking about missiles. Missiles, we used to missiles attacks, but on fire, exchanging fire of hand grenades, RPG, AK-47, all this was the first time that I can say that we went in the fire, that we sacrificed ourselves for other people.
I mean, if you could just give context for listeners, what is the objective, the importance of you going in, right away, even during the gunfire, why not wait until that's resolved?
Okay, so I'll explain. We arrived at Sderot, so the first thing that we have to do, because we are all EMTs, is to save lives.
Right.
And that's going to give you an answer to your question that you just asked, but Baruch Hashem, that we managed, even under fire, under the horror, under everything that we saw, we went through car, people were lying on the street, we just checked the pulse, and we saved, I think it was 16 or 17 people that we saved. We gave them first aid, load them up in my car, took them to the field hospital that was in the entrance of Sderot, dropped them, went back again because there was no ambulances. Ambulances were attacked. There was 2 ambulances that received RPG and they were out. They couldn't, and it was like it's a sudden attack and you're not ready for it. So whatever you can use, that's what you're going to use. So you use my personal car to transfer injured people, all of them with gunshot wounds. And I don't know how much stayed alive, but for sure 6 people that I spoke to afterwards that are alive and that they're back to the families because what we did. So this is like a small relief, and if it would be only this, it will be a full relief. But whatever we saw afterwards, so I would say it's a bit of a relief that we had. The second thing is, after we finished that, then we went to collect the bodies that were all over. In cars, outside of cars, in front of houses. We went through, and first of all, to put them in body bags. And we had a volunteer that he's not a Yid with me, that he came from Ashkelon, and we had him write down on a piece of paper where it's packed, the bodies. We didn't want it's not covered a mess to leave them without covered. So that's what we did first. And he wrote it down. I saw a truck parked on the street. I just broke open the lock, and we start to take the bodies into that truck. And when you start to think, when you see that 10, 20, 30, 40 bodies, more than 40 bodies that you just picking up and putting into a truck, it's a nightmare. Never thought, 33 years in ZAKA, I would say we saw everything. I saw everything. We saw, but to come and put in, we know we were in Haiti, we were in earthquakes all over. We saw a lot of dead bodies. We saw thousands and thousands, but it wasn't our brothers and sisters. And when you know that you have to go and pick up your brothers and sisters, so the first thing you see that you recognize that you have to do is just to disconnect your thoughts with your work. It can't be connected. If not, you're collapsing. So this is a technique that we're taught. Just disconnect yourself and just go into work.
We'll be right back to this episode of the Meaningful People podcast. I want to lighten the mood a little bit for just a minute. You know, Hanukkah is coming up, and there is an amazing new game that just came out, and it is called Kichelet. It's, of course, from the amazing comic that we see in Mishpacha every week, the Kichels. Every family should have it. It's the perfect game for the entire family. Many of you have played their previous game they came out with, which was the Twisted Kichels. This is just as hilarious, if not more. It's a classic Kichel humor that gets the from culture. It's easy to learn, easy to play, tons of laughs. We believe games should be fun, not stressful. And this game is a perfect example of that. This game is great for Hanukkah parties, for crowds, or just for individual family time. This game is guaranteed to make everyone laugh and have an amazing time. So, how do you play this game? I'll show you a little bit for just a second. As I open this box, Kichelet, you have a die, and you have many different cards. You're going to pick a card. You pick a random card. You roll the dice. Okay, so I have a random card over here. What does my card say? My card says root canal. Okay, I'm rolling the die. Boom. I have a one finger. That means that I need to explain what this is in one syllable without saying any of the words below. So my word is root canal. So I'm going to be like pain, ow, hurt. You know, those are all one syllables. And then the people on your team need to go ahead and guess what word that is. So there are two teams. You have to get your team to guess your word within 30 seconds. And there are many different things that happen with this, right? There's the one syllable. There's the yeshiva charade it. You have to act it out. It's a lot of fun. Your family will love it. It's super easy to play. It's entertaining. The rules are flexible. You can really tweak it to make it work for your family, different ages that are playing. You can play this game on Shabbos. or anytime. The Kichel is all about bringing joy and humor to people, especially during this challenging time. It's super important to stay positive and live life with joy, and this is a great way to do that. So go get the game for Hanukkah, for your parties, or just for your family to play after candlelighting. You'll have an amazing time. Make sure to pick up this game. You can order on Amazon. You can get it in the Judaica stores. Kichel it. Your family will love it. Also, a word from our friends at Town Appliance. Ever since 1979, they've been the number one appliance store for the Jewish world. They understand your needs. They know how to work with you. And that's why you need to head to townappliance.com. Who knows? Maybe you're getting ready to make an amazing Hanukkah party and oh no, the dishwasher is kaput, not working. The oven is acting up. What do I do? Who do I call? Bum, ba, bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, bum. You call townappliance.com. But you know what? Who likes calling people these days? I'm much more of a WhatsApp guy. You can WhatsApp them. What? That doesn't make any sense, Nachi. I can WhatsApp a store? You can. You can WhatsApp Town Appliance. Go ahead, hit the link in the show notes or in the description. Get in touch with Town Appliance today. You are going to love it. Now back to this episode.
You mentioned that, if I can just jump in for a moment, Yossi, you mentioned that that disconnect in order to simply function and to execute the type of work that you're doing. It requires that disconnect. It requires that compartmentalization. And I'm wondering, when I heard you share that you don't even know where the shelter is in your house, because if the shelter is relevant, then you're on the front lines. And I'm wondering, where is your shelter? From where do you draw the strength that you need to do this type of work? Where can you go for your shelter?
So some people will say, and I will agree with them, that I'm crazy. Okay, that's my opinion, but the others' opinion is because of the help of Klal Yisrael, of the support. That gives us the strength to go and do this holy work that has to be done. Because we know what happened before we had this, before we did it, and we know what's happening in the world, that we are handling those cases, and we saw what happened by COVID. When people died, they couldn't even get to Kever Yisrael. We had it not in New York, not in Israel, but in Thailand. We had cases over there that they just burned the people, and they never got to Kever Yisrael, because so we know the heart feeling for the families and for the Kuvot HaMes. So we're there to do it till the end. We're not going to give up, even though it cost us by physically and mentally problems. Now I would say we had volunteers that had to go into the hospital because they couldn't function, they collapsed. We have volunteers that they can't come home, and they have children, they can look at the children, they cannot hug the children. And for me personally, it was very hard, and it's still hard. I couldn't look at my grandchildren till now. It was the last Shabbos that I was able to look in a child in his face. I couldn't look in a child in his face, any child, because we saw what those children suffered and how they were attacked and how they were brutally attacked, and what they went through. Children in front of the parents and parents in front of the children. Babies. When we come, you see two piles of children, from the age to 13 to 18, the hands tied in the back, and not even killed but burnt alive. And you have to go and separate those bodies. And I hope that not 99%, but 100% of your audience never saw that. The kind of work to separate burned bodies. What kind of job is that? And it's children, and you see that and you think you have the same age of children, and when you come home, you have to confront them, and you can't talk. You have to look them in the eyes. Our volunteers collapsed. Just plain collapsed. When you go into a house, first of all, we got a mission for removing the bodies by the festival. And I just want to give you an example what it means, the holiness of our volunteers and what kind of work they confronted. We weren't allowed to pick up the bodies because of our safety, because there were still terrorists around, and there was constantly missiles coming from Gaza to that area, and we're in open space. There's no way where you can run away, you can hide yourself, because the shelters that was over there was full with bodies, so you couldn't go in anyways. And also they had intelligence, that they had the word, the army, that by sunrise we might get another invasion of terrorists. So they didn't want to let us. We begged them, we told them, and they gave us a frame time from 1 a.m. till 4:30. That means 3.5 hours. That's all we can work. By 4:30, sunrise, we have to be out of there. They were watching us. They were patrolling. It was gunfire. It was missiles that we had to stop in the middle. 207 bodies were packed. I say packed. It's every time I say that word packed, I feel like there's somebody stabbing me. Because what do you mean? Packing a body, it's like packing a piece of cake. But I have no other words. The end of it is to give the respect, but we pack them in body bags and load them into trucks. By 4:20, we had 207 bodies that a human being cannot understand it. And when you see that, all kinds of different bodies shot, burned, and all kind of positions, all kind of that you're not thinking even, but just to finish the job. Then we went into Be'eri, yes.
You had mentioned, obviously, you had to go to the area of the festival. I've heard you, give testimony, though, once you got into the kibbutzim, Be'eri, Kfar Aza, going house to house, people who were just starting their days, eating breakfast, playing with their kids. That's what you walked into.
Correct. I just want to give you one thing for your audience about the festival. If anybody thinks, and people ask me, Chilul Shabbos festival with Shabbos, what's going on over here? Maybe it's a punishment, we don't understand. But those 300 people, youngsters, they were killed. A Kiddush Hashem, they're holy. You know why? What we found afterwards on the terrorist with their instructions and the maps to invade cities up to Ashdod, and Ashdod included, with killing thousands and thousands of innocents, the festival stopped this. So they saved thousands of holy people. They had marked on the maps Bismedrish, Shul, everything they had marked. They knew everything, but that stopped them. So we have to give, first of all, respect for those Kedoshim that saved a lot of Klal Yisrael. They saved them. And this was level 3. We thought this is the last, but when we went into the kibbutzim, and the first thing is Kibbutz Be'eri, and when I said why it's so hard for us to go back home, and every impact that you saw to go home, it's not only because of the kids, it's because your wife, because the table to see when you go into a house. When we went into a house in Kibbutz Be'eri, and we saw a family, how they were attacked. Parents against children, killed, and they were missing body pieces while they were alive. And in the middle there is a table with the food of this family that the terrorists were eating while they torturing the father and the mother and the children. And you start to think, did the parents see what it has been done to the children? Did the children saw what has been done to the parents? And you can't talk it with your volunteers because you don't want to get them. But then we listen to our volunteers. I listen to volunteers and I say, maybe it's only by me. And I told them after we finished the work in the evening, when we sat down a little bit, and I asked them, could you tell me a little bit what you saw, what you think? And they all start to say, everybody, the bodies were talking to us. They were telling the stories. This is the first time in my history that I can say, yes, that has happened, that the bodies were just talking to us. They told us exactly the story because they wanted we should give it, we should pass the story, we should tell them exactly what they went through. And when I took into my volunteers into this house, and 12 volunteers, usually it was only 6 in a house, but when I went in and I saw exactly what's involved over there, and the big puddle of blood, that it's not usual, then I called in for a team of 12 instead of 6, and I told him, just tell me before if you can do it. We'll go in, and don't be ashamed. Whoever can't, just tell me, and I'll know what to do with him. I was sure that I'll have 1, 2 volunteers that would tell me, Yossi, we can't do it. I was so surprised, and I wouldn't say surprised, but I would say 12 of the volunteers came over to me, Yossi, no, we can't do it. 12. All 12. I told them, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I had to sit them down in the puddle of blood, and we start to sing Ani Ma'amin, Vihi Sha'amdu. So this is what those Hamas terrorists wanted it should happen, that you should break. You shouldn't be able. Do you want to give them this price? No. We're a nation. We're going to do it. We hold their hands from this family. I told for my volunteers, everybody should help keep their hand, and let's make a promise that we will not move. We will not go out till the last one is coming to Kever Yisrael, until because I knew if we give them even though they know their mission, but if you give them, you make the promise on such a spot like that, they will not break the promise. And it helped. We went on, and they asked me I should allow them to take this suit that was soaked in blood, and they want to take it home. They want to be buried with this. This should be a sign, a witness what they did. Told them no. I will not allow that, because this is going to minimize whatever else you did. And when you go up, everything is written, everything is seen, so they will teach the full concept, not only this. And when you're going to take that, that means only this.
We'll be right back to this episode in just a minute, but first, a word from our friends at J Karaoke. It's Hanukkah season, and you're having a lot of parties. Your kids are looking for good presents. And what's that going to be? It's going to be ordered from J Karaoke. Okay, Jewish karaoke, that is. You can enjoy Jewish karaoke with thousands of songs. Hanukkah's coming up. It's a perfect activity and the perfect Hanukkah gift. You can subscribe now for just $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. Upgrade your experience with their wireless karaoke mic for only $25. You will actually get $10 off when you bundle it with a yearly J Karaoke subscription. And there is a special Hanukkah offer. You can use promo code MUSIC23 to save an extra 10% off your order. Now, what does that have? Okay, we got the wireless mic features, portable with a built-in speaker, fun voices, especially the high-pitched one. You know you all love that. Fun for the whole family. It's a metal-bodied microphone. You can get a second mic so that you can enjoy it with two people at the same time, doing some duets, harmonies. You know how it is. But karaoke just got Jewish. You can have thousands of your favorite songs at your fingertips with J Karaoke. Make sure to go to jkaraoke.com. You can use promo code MUSIC23 for 10% off your purchase right now. The link is in the show notes in the description of this episode. I have the game in my house. I can't wait to take it out by these Hanukkah parties and have an amazing time. So go ahead, order yours today. Also, a word from our friends at Collars & Co. The shirt I'm wearing right now, super comfortable, amazing for Shabbos, the perfect gift for your husband, for your boys, for your son, whoever it is, for Yontif, for Hanukkah. Make sure to order it right now. We have a special promo code. The promo code for Hanukkah is Miracle15. Miracle15. You get 15% off your purchase from collarsandco.com. It is an amazing, amazing shirt. I don't know. Look at this. Do I need to say more? You see how comfortable I look, right? You see how comfortable this is. It is like a t-shirt. The collars are strong and firm, and that's why you need to get your shirts at collarsandco.com.
It's such an amazingly powerful point that you're making, this last point. I just want to highlight it. In the age that we live in, and where in a moment's time, a picture can go across the world, and a video can go across the world, and people believe that they are aware of what's going on in a different part of the world. And people are mistaken to think that because someone took a picture of it or because someone took a video of something, that somehow captures the reality. And unfortunately, that's a fallacy, because I love the way you were madrich, your squad, and you led your volunteers to understand that even a blood-drenched uniform that does not capture the avodah that they're doing. And like you said, it minimizes it to think that this is it. It's so much bigger than anything that can be captured. And we can talk here for days long. And I know you've done such a masterful job of sharing with the world, with the news outlets, because no matter how many atrocities Klal Yisrael experiences, somehow the world finds a way to deny our pain. And the testimony that you and your team can bear witness to is what we need to hold on to this reality. But no matter what the testimony is, and no matter what is captured, it does not do justice to what's going on. And I think it's important for us to be mechazik ourselves to know that only the Eibishter knows exactly what went on, what goes on, and we don't even need to capture it in a sentence, in an interview, in a video. It cannot be captured.
I agree. It cannot be said, and as I say, we are still there. We're still keeping on because we have that promise. And now it's even harder and difficult because when we come back to the same house that in the beginning we worked like a machine, and now we start to think, what did we see over here? And the walls are talking to us. The walls, it's so hard for our volunteers that you have to maneuver. This team that wasn't in this place, they'll come. We have to clean all the blood. And when I go in, last week I went into Kfar Aza in the house and I see my team cleaning up a house that was full of blood. There were 2 children dead, a family, 2 children, 3 children, and a parents, full family that they were killed over there. And this volunteer is crying. I asked him, why are you crying? He told me, why do I do this job now, cleaning up this blood? I told him, you know why? Because we have 2. One, because that's the halacha. Ki adam hu nefesh. We have to collect all the blood. The second of all, we want to give the respect for the families. They come back. We don't want they should see exactly what went in this house. So I told him, so he answered me, what are you talking about? There's no one to come back in this house. The family is completely gone, demolished. There's no family. This is what I have to hear. That's what we have to hear from our volunteers, that their parents and their goal in life is to raise the family and to be a father and to be a grandfather. And now to go home and see, well, they don't know even what they're doing.
Yes, yeah, I can't even imagine how, given everything that's been said, and I think it's super important. I think you know this, and that's why you've been giving testimony, and you've been on all the outlets. And in this podcast, God willing, will be seen by a lot of people. And the clips that come out of our podcast are even seen by even more, hundreds of thousands of people on social media. And maybe it'll talk to somebody, but the people out there who question what happened, they say it didn't actually happen like that. They'll deny the atrocities, or they'll play down the atrocities. You being someone who, with your own hands, with your own eyes, with your nose, you smelled this, what would you say to that person who is downplaying what took place here?
I wouldn't say anything. I would ask, please give me, he should be together with the Hamas terrorist, and he should be killed because he's a part of it. That's all. It's impossible. You're not going to convince a terrorist. You can't convince, and whoever denies it, and yes, I had BBC. They tried they tried to get me about the beheaded babies and everything that, Baruch Hashem, that we didn't give out the pictures of it, because this is the difference between us and the terrorists, that we respect. We have Kuvvet Ames and we have Kuvvet Achai. This is our nation. This is our genes that we have to respect. We will not give out those pictures. But, and I asked them, do you want proof that it was that it was a war? How do you call it? A crime, war crime.
War crime, yeah.
Take a look in the Geneva Convention, and to see that if it says over there, if you get shot in the back while you're not armed, this is 90% were shot in the back. That's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a moment by this concert on Sunday night that, all of us were there, where I believe it was with Avram Fried, where there was a shtickle hakafis going on, for yourself, for a lot of the volunteers, because many of you did not get to experience Simchas Torah this year. This is what you were doing. What did that, what feelings did that bring up for you and your volunteers?
I went to Avram Fried and I told him I didn't eat the meal that Yontav. Maybe give me a meal too.
I mean, there's pretty good food in the VIP room,
Yes, that's when he can eat. But unfortunately, a lot of our volunteers cannot eat. The smell is still and the taste. A lot of our volunteers cannot look at meat and all others. It's difficult. It's very difficult. But yes, it gave us a little bit. I remember I made Havdalah was Monday. And by Tuesday, when I went into a house in Kfar Aza and I saw a table set up for Yontiv with challahs, and then I remind myself that I didn't eat the meal. The next time I saw myself at home was Friday, 5 minutes after my wife lit the candles.
That was the first time you went home since you left on Simchas Torah.
That's correct, with 5 hours sleep in the entire week.
I'm just out of curiosity, like physically, like did you eat at all that week? Like how were you?
20 pounds I lost.
You lost 20 pounds in the week of working.
That's right.
Shemirachem.
I being at this event and looking, and I have a cousin who's part of ZAKA, Simcha Greineman.
Simcha Greineman is one of the holiest. He's dedicated 24/7. He's holy. We love him.
Yeah, and I had also Effie Grandiger. He was in my house actually, and he came to America with his wife just to decompress a little, because of what he saw and what he went through, and he was telling me a little bit.
From Ashdod.
Yeah, and looking in the eyes, and even speaking to you, I imagine that your personality, your personality, maybe October 6th is different than it is now.
Correct.
They're
changed. My life changed.
So my question is, mentally, like for you and your volunteers, I know, like, I've heard after what happened in Meron, there was a lot of debriefing with a lot of the volunteers because of what they had to experience, and I imagine now even more so. What is ZAKA, going to be doing for their volunteers and just to mentally make sure that everyone recovers?
We signed off with called a company. Said a coalition of trauma. That's the name. In Israel, that they have a team, and every we try to give them like an hotel room for 24 hours. We go out with the wife, and every volunteer is having 12 sessions with those specialists. It costs a lot of money. And yes, we're going to fight with the government that we have to get it, but we can't wait. It's impossible for us to wait. And, government is government. It could take months, years even, till we get back the money.
This is why people need to be donating to ZAKA.
It costs us $1.2 million only to the treatments for the volunteers, and not talking about volunteers that lost the job, that they have no food, if they're self-employed, even not self-employed, because we know the economy is not that bad, not that good right now in Israel. So everybody is looking. You didn't come into work for a month, I'll not pay you, or either he hired someone else instead of him, so he's not out of a job, and we have to accommodate that with their families, and we did. Last week we bought vouchers of a supermarket, and we gave out for $250,000 vouchers to our volunteers. They should be able to go buy food, only food.
Yes, so you had mentioned that, in a few minutes after this interview, you're heading to the airport. You're going to Florida to your parents.
Correct.
Because your parents are worried about you. They haven't seen you in a bit, and
correct.
When they have seen you, you're on the news saying what you're saying, and I can't help but not think about what that interaction is going to be like for you. After what you've experienced going to your parents, what does that make you think about?
Call me and I'll tell you afterwards. I don't know how they're going to react. I don't know.
I think your mother is going to make you eat. That's all I can imagine.
Yes. If I'm going to eat, it's going to be because of Kivud Avim.
Yeah.
Yossi, I'm wondering, as you're seeing the way that Klal Yisrael is responding to what's going on, and I'm sure people share with you the way that Klal Yisrael has become unified, in a sense. And you mentioned the Kedoshim at a music festival. And what's happening today, from what we can see, is that some of these labels that used to exist and sort of separate different classes within Klal Yisrael have melted away. And correct. People acknowledge that at our core, we are all Chelek Elokam Mimal Mamish. We are one people, and these things, these external, superficial Narishkeiten that used to divide us, have truly, it's been revealed that they're all nothing. It's all a superficial external label, and it does not divide us whatsoever. And I'm wondering now, from your vantage,
that's for now, and I hope, and I'm davening, and I'm praying, and I'm asking, I'm begging, it should keep up.
Amen.
It should stay. Amen. It should stay forever, because this is the only thing that it's going to keep us. This is the only thing that it's going to make us as a nation, and this is the only thing that we're going to win this war. And it's not only a war in Israel, it's a war in the entire world, and for the Western world, and for everybody that's human being, this is the war.
I heard something very, very insightful that I'm just going to offer as maybe a nakuda of chizik, that this achdus that we're seeing emerge, where Klal Yisrael is becoming unified, and the Avos Yisrael that's being activated, the love between Jews is present and manifest in a way that we've really unprecedentedly, we've never seen it this alive, Am Yisrael Chai. That is not only an ancillary, like Milsa Agav Urcha, to the light of Mashiach revealing itself, but rather that is the very mechanism of the light of Mashiach. When the Eibishter's Ein Od Milvadai, when the oneness of God is fully revealed, Mola Aretz Dea Es Hashem, that must be reflected by Knesset Yisrael. Yisrael V'Oraisa V'Kudsha Brichu Chadu, that means that there's a singular reality that is Klal Yisrael, the Torah, and the Eibishter. When that singular unified reality reveals itself, that is the coming of Mashiach. And it could be that we're just experiencing that altogether.
Hope so. I hope
It's
so.
a shame.
I'm ready.
So are we. Yossi Landau, thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us, being vulnerable and talking to us and telling us
Thank
what you
you.
experienced. And Amir Hashem, by the time this airs, Mashiach will be here and we'll be reunited with all the Kedoshim that you took care of.
Amen. Am Yisrael Chai.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know it was extremely heavy. We had a few people who had listened to it before it came out, and they told us that the tears did not stop. Yossi Landau is an extremely strong person, and what he did, we can't even imagine. What him and his volunteers are doing, it's unfathomable. It really is. So, please just daven for them. If you can donate to ZAKA, we'll put the link in the show notes in the description of this episode. Share this episode with the world. The world needs to know what happened on that day. It can't be whitewashed. It can't be forgotten. It can't be downplayed. And that's why we recorded this episode. To hear the strength in Yossi's voice, to show the world that the Jewish people are never going to give up. And like he said, the way we give chizuk to the ZAKA members is by davening for them and being there for them, and they feel that hug. I also want to mention there's an amazing Fabringen this Sunday night. This is coming out on Motzei Shabbos, so tomorrow night there's an amazing Fabringen in Brooklyn. It's got Avram Fried, Barry Weber, Eitan Katz, Alex Clare, but it's not just a concert. You have Rabbi Judah Michel, Rabbi Moshe Weinberger, you have Rabbi Eli Mansour, you have Rabbi Shais Taub, you have speakers, you have music. It's going to be an amazing Fabringen in King's Theater. You can get tickets right now at nafshi.net. Use promo code MM2023. That's MM2023. Get a discount on your order right now for some tickets. I will be there and I hope to see you there. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode. I know it was not an easy one. And thank you for sharing this episode. Leave a comment for the ZAKA members. I know the ZAKA members are going to be watching this episode. So please leave a comment down below here on YouTube so they all can see it. Have an amazing week, guys.